So welcome to the Sylva TSC meeting. From the participant, we have on the voting member, we have participants from TIM, from Orange, from Deutsche Telekom, Telefonica, Ericsson, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have others, but I didn't see anybody from Nokia or Vodafone. In any case, we have the quorum if there is any need for a voting. I remind that we are following the Linux Foundation policies, and the next TSC will be in 2 weeks on the 29th of May, and will be led by Guillaume. There is also
Hello, Nicoletta.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for being late.
No problem. We're just starting. Regarding the general news, we will have at the end of the TSC a presentation from book going from Deutsche Telekom on virtual host-based routing, and this I think will be the most interesting part of today's meeting. Regarding the information coming from the board meeting that we had last week, I think that the most interesting information is that we decided to organize another Sylva Dev Day, or as it has been called, the Sylva Mini Summit, together with the Open Source Summit in Vienna in next September. It will be an half-day event. It will have a cost for registration, but a symbolic cost of $10. But to participate to the mini summit, you have to be registered to the Open Source Summit. And we decided to have trying to have two Sylva events during the year. One may be more focused on discussion on details and implementation, and like the one that we had hosted by Orange for at least one full day, and another one during an event with the purpose of trying to involve more external people to the community, to the community of Sylva. I don't know, Guillaume or Naomi, if there are other important information coming from the board meeting.
Nope, I think that covers it. But just one note is, and I think this actually was a mistake on my part, but the time is actually going to be 9 until 12:30. So we get that additional 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. I will modify it. Regarding the governance, there is an ongoing election for the leadership of Workgroup 4 on sustainability. I think it's being closed today. So from tomorrow, I think we will have the new Workgroup 4 leader. Are there any comments or questions regarding the general information? If not, I think we can move to the update on the working groups, starting from working group 1. So Mathieu, please.
Hi, everyone. I don't have any details to share with you, just to tell you that we keep working on bug fixing. This is the main focus we have today. We plan still to release the v1.1 version of Sylva for end of June. And you can see already some improvements on the technical portal, because what we are currently doing is also improving the documentation of Sylva. So you can have a look to the Sylva technical portal to see those improvements, and we will keep chasing bugs in the coming weeks. We wanted also to start discussing about the long-term support releases for Sylva, or it's a general topic. I don't know if Guillaume wants to speak about that, or
I can take this point, but if there are no other questions to Matthew first. No, we have many direct communication in the Slack on the support, but also on new features concerning the long-term support Kubernetes. What we are targeting, so it's a proposal for this TSC. The fact is we want to limit the number of Kubernetes release supported, not just to avoid upgrading, because I think it's in cloud native world it's a good habit to upgrade in a smoothly way and automated way. But it's important to get an alignment between operators, IT, and network functions vendor on limited numbers of Kubernetes releases to expose some to put in front some Kubernetes distribution and releases. So at the first idea, we proposed to have a policy, for example, on the odd releases of Kubernetes, 129, 131, and so on. But we are not fixed on this, and the proposal today is not to define and to decide on this policy, but just on the main principle. And also it's an opportunity when we are going to production for operators to subscribe some commercial long-term support also on this policy. So we can have an open source push on this, and also on the standards, and also for production use cases we can have also commercial negotiation outside Sylva. So what we propose first is to, at the Sylva level, to align together network function vendor, IT vendors, and operators around this policy. And if we demonstrate that it's a good path, we can extend this to the HCNFV to communicate, to standardize on these policies, and to make it a telco ecosystem reference. And by the way, there's this initiative of LTS support within Kubernetes community. This community has good ideas, but currently it's not so very active. So if we go in this direction, it's also the opportunity for us to push the ecosystem to also invest in this CNCF LTS community. So my main question to this TSC is: are we aligned first to go in this long-term strategy objective? So So if we can have a feedback, I think maybe in the chat it can be easier to measure the adoption on this proposal. And for this TSC, I will just remain on this proposal because I think definitely we need to discuss together on fixing this this policy with the different network functions vendor and operators. So in the chat, if you can confirm if you are okay with the proposal 1. So, okay, 14. So from the board, we need feedback from DT, Vodafone, Ericsson. Nokia is not here today. And if someone wants to comment this also, because even if we are not going to choose today the policy, we proposed odd releases. I had the feedback from Huawei that currently they are targeting to have not odd releases, but one distribution, one Kubernetes version on 3. So it's 1 on 3. So is it something you think it's a good idea, or do we want to push 1 on 2 with odd releases or even releases? So I don't know. For example,
it may be better to align with what Kubernetes community is doing. No, if there's an issue there, 4330 referred by Huawei. If there's a working group or some kind of work into doing the upgrade every 3, so simplifying the upgrade every 3, maybe it's best to align with that instead of doing it every 2.
Yeah, it's a target, Luis. There are discussion or interview on this stage at this community. I think they have not started to develop it, this kind of upgrade. But I do agree with you that it's quite interesting approach. I do not know, for example, Norbert, do you know if you have such a policy internally? Or
sorry, I was muted. We have also detected that there is, for our purposes, too frequent releases from the Kubernetes-based system, and we are also sort of following this every second release. From that perspective, it fits very well. Mm-hmm.
So it's also on the odd releases, is it?
That's a good question. I would need to check.
Okay. Yeah. Please give me your feedback offline.
Yeah, I can do that. Mm-hmm.
Great.
I think there is a question from Tim.
I was, yeah, all right. So no, I was going to comment there. So I mean, first of all, from the SUSE side of things, I can say that we are right now developing a new approach to LTS, which I hope I can share more details in a few weeks from now. The one thing that I want to sort of make, and I'm sort of stating the obvious here, I think most of us are aware, deciding on which releases to take goes a little bit hand in hand with the length of the support duration, which, as far as I can see, isn't explicitly called out here in your proposal. I think we are probably implicitly assuming something like 24 months here. But these things obviously go hand in hand, right? Because if you know how long a given release is going to be supported, that determines how many releases upstream is bringing out in the same time frame, and then that again determines how many releases you basically have to upgrade at the end of the cycle or during the cycle. So how many upgrade windows do you have? How many maintenance windows need to be scheduled? And how many updates need to be stacked in the given maintenance window. So all these things are kind of related to each other, and nailing down one requires nailing down the other, sort of the other sides of the triangle as well. Just that. So all in all, I think my comment is that these things need to be studied in conjunction with each other, and the overall concept needs to be streamlined and consistent in itself.
Okay, I've noted your feedback, Tim. Thanks. Other topic? Yeah, Carlo.
I don't know if we receive all the comments, votes for approving your proposal on the chat.
So we've got 3, which is not sufficient. Norbert, yeah, Norbert, it's okay. From Vodafone, DT.
From Vodafone side, we are okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. So I think we can consider this proposal okay, and we will have to further discuss the details about the policy, the timing, the number of version. But at least the principle that we will look for a method to support not all the version, but just a subset is okay for all.
Thank you. It was the first level of decision I was waiting for. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comment, question regarding this proposal or for Workgroup 1 in general? If not,
for Workgroup 1, just to mention an interlock between Workgroup 1 and Workgroup 4. There was discussion this week to integrate Kepler tooling in automatic deployment through the Sylva stack GitOps way to deploy tools. So Carlo make the link with the Workgroup 1. And there are some discussion ongoing on the Slack on this topic.
Yes, we had a meeting yesterday in Workgroup 1, and where we agreed to try to use Kepler as the tool to collect data about the energy consumptions. And we discuss the importance of having a link with Workgroup 1 in order to include Kepler as one of the tools that can be installed automatically together with the Sylva when a new workload class is created. And the next step for putting in practice this purpose is the creation of an RFE for the inclusion of Kepler inside Sylva. And we
I don't know if Carlo are you still connected, Carlo?
The storm came.
Yeah, the storm finally came. Okay, so Luis, I propose you to continue, and I will launch my screen to share my screen.
Okay, good. Okay, so the validation center. Well, no many things to comment this time. We keep working little by little. Since the last TSC, we already completed validation of 2 additional workloads that were in the backlog, the SDMs from Huawei and ZTE. The reports are generated. The one from Huawei still is being generated, but we have 2 additional ones. So in total, we have 9 workloads validated so far. And there's 1 additional one in the backlog, in the Oracle 5G signaling from, so the 5G signaling from Oracle. This one, according to the provider, requires SRIOB, so it will be validated in the Aura platform. It's another one that has been pre-validated, so the validation, the official validation is going to be quick. So in 2 weeks we will have it. Apart from that, we have analyzed the options on how to have, as part of the automation, we wanted to create a common centralized management platform. So a central place where we can store the images of the workloads to be validated, run the validation from, or at least the deployment of the workloads in the different platforms from one central location. But we have been evaluating the situation, and there's some issues with securing the connectivity between different lab environments. I mean, every operator has different security measures, and it's not that easy to set up a VPN always. So in the end, we may have a group of, let's say, a platform manager in each one of the environments that will allow to manage in a common way all the environments, but in the end will not be completely centralized. But we are working on that to see how we can improve that. And an additional thing that we have done is we have already started participating in the CNTI, the Cloud Native Telecom Initiative. And we are, at least in the certification part, to keep up to date with the number of scripts or policies that need to be passed by any workload. So we already have this clear, and we are following those meetings and participating in those meetings, and we are starting to run the corresponding scripts in the workloads that we have already validated. So things that we want to do, complete the validation for the one that we have in the backlog. We need more, as always. So we need more, we need to fill more the backlog. We think that we should start revalidating some of the workloads in different platforms, because right now that we have platforms with different hardware. For instance, Orange has something with Lenovo, something with Dell. In Telefonica, we had something with HPE, and we are building another one with Dell. We should revalidate some of the network functions, some of the workloads in different configurations, so that to demonstrate that is still validation is okay, and there's nothing that is linked to any specific hardware that we think is not, but it would be good to do these revalidations. But still, we should have more in the backlog. Things that we are going to do also is running the CNTI scripts, the Cloud Native Telecom Initiative, for those already validated, at least as a reference. So we are not changing the report, but at least we want to improve the report indicating which of the policies are Cloud Native policies are passed by each of the workloads, so that we understand better the process as well. And we will keep working on the automations, same as we have been evaluating and discussing about how to have one that is not that easy. Probably is not possible. A single platform manager, at least we want to create the same platform manager in different locations, but with similar features, such as having a cloud cell incorporated in the same platform to allow simplify the validation and the automatic generation of reports once anything is validated. So we keep working on that. It will take us some months anyway. So not much progress these 2 weeks. Only one additional network validated, but many things many things pending actually. And that's all. Nothing to share, and there's no decisions for this work group at this stage.
Thank you, Luis, and thank you, Guillermo, for sharing the screen. Any question for Luis for work group 2? So we can move to work group 3. So Mihai.
Yes, hello. Luis made a very nice summary with not much being done and many things in the backlog, which I think it also applies for working group 3. As there were quite some bank holidays during the last weeks, there was not much activity on the working group. And what we have done a couple of hours ago is that we have continued to work on the USS analysis, where we covered the cross-network access topics today, and we are also working on the security requirements on going further. So there was some discussions with Guillaume on this topic. And the plan is also to get from Red Hat, because I understand that they have a guide already for the CNFs for the Red Hat OpenStack, which we could use as a basis, as an inspiration for these requirements, at least as a starting point, in order to build something and afterwards review it with the experts and the CNF providers and see from there how we go. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Mihai. Any question or comment for Workgroup 3?
On my side, just to have a draft when possible to the TSC, and as already shared, if there are some good ideas in the CNCF cloud native network functions white paper, I think definitely you can use it also as a starting point. And Vuk was also co-writer on this document.
Yeah, the one you sent me, right? You're referring to that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. I started on that one.
Maybe as you mentioned that we are also, as per agreement with Guillaume and Stefan, we are planning in the next weeks to have a deep dive in the Workgroup 3 about the security policies and model that is in place in DT. So maybe also that could be one of sources of inspiration.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm counting in 2 weeks we'll be ready to join on Wednesday and do it.
Okay. Great.
Thanks. So we can move to Workgroup 4 on sustainability. I don't know if there is anyone beside myself who participated to the meeting. So I would just add that in the previous months, there has been work in Workgroup 1 to test Kepler on a OpenShift platform, and this work would be useful for evaluating how used for collecting data, but clearly this was not a work with the Sylva stack. So as we discussed before, we are going to use Kepler directly on a Sylva stack, and this work will start in the next week, together with the preparation of all the models to define which parameters have to be measured and used to evaluate the production of CO2 starting from the power consumption data. I don't know if there is anyone else who wants to add anything about Workgroup 4. If not, I think we can move quickly to Workgroup 5 about communication and adoption. I don't know, Nicolas?
Yep, I will do it in place of Andre. Yes, he's not here today. So the progress since last time, there is a webinar that has been organized by Sylva on Telco Edge. So topics are Sylva and the Open RAN. Other topic is related to OpenBAO. There was the announcement of OpenBAO in a press release issued by the project or the Linux Foundation, where Sylva was mentioned. There was a quote from Guillaume as a co-chairman of the Sylva project. So that gives visibility to the project, which is always good. Ahead of us, there is our DTW stands for Digital Transformation World. I think it's in Copenhagen in June, and we are part of two catalysts. So we'll be represented there as well. Naomi and the rest of the team, but mostly Naomi, is cooking an update of the website to make it more accessible and to give more, let's say, and updated information as well. And in the events that are ahead of us, there is SUSCON in June as well. I think it's in Berlin, if memory serves. So there will be a talk about Sylva. And for what we wanted to be the Sylva Dev Day Edition 2, it will be it's been renamed to Sylva Mini Summit, and it will be co-located with the Open Source Summit in Vienna in September. It's around the 19th of September. So there will be a mini summit, and currently defining the agenda. So all participants able to access the Open Source Summit will be able to join the Sylva Mini Summit. Since we expect to have maybe less developers and participants than during the first edition, the goal for this event is to go and, let's say, network, onboard more companies that are currently not part of the project. So give room for the exchanges between the developers that will participate to the Open Source Summit, but also this is an opportunity to improve our networking and onboard new companies. And last but not least, the Network X event, which will be in Paris in October. So there are various talks, and we intend to introduce and to represent Sylva, plus mini summit proposal. So HCNFV Sylva Summit. The proposal is on the table. I don't know if it's been yet accepted. The idea is to organize this summit between HCNFV and Sylva in order to give visibility to both projects and invite various participants or speakers, including executives from the telecom ecosystem. And I think that's it for the Work Group 5.
Thank you, Nicolas. Any comment or question for Group 5? If not, I think we can move to the last part of the meeting, that is the presentation book about virtual host-based routing. Hope that the 20 minutes remaining would be enough for your presentation.
Yes, I think for the purpose of today, to introduce the topic to the TSC, overall it should be fine. If I can take over the screen sharing, would be great. I think I need some permission.
I give you the access.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay.
Very soon. Okay. Do you see the screen with some PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Full screen.
Perfect. So thank you for the time, for the topic. I didn't come alone. I took some backup, or not backup actually. I took the Christopher Jomba, who is the expert today here with me, and I'm going to introduce briefly the topic that we discussed in the last or in the first Sylva Dev Day in Paris. It's a host-based routing. It's how Deutsche Telekom is doing networking for the Kubernetes CAS stack, and the intention is to propose this as a sort of POC or evaluation for this group. So I'm going to do some intro, and then we'll ask Christopher to support me in some details, and we can take it from then. So without further delaying, First of all, it's the first time for me and for Christopher to take part in the TSC. We hope to be able to take the part in the meantime more often. And this topic is one of the starting points or kind of contributions for us to catch some or to generate some momentum from our side. So the background of host-based routing, what it is about. It is a solution for networking for a telco CAS on bare metal environments, which is, as I said, developed and used in the Deutsche Telekom. And it's a standard networking model that addresses the following scenario that's depicted here. So you have a data centers, data center fabric, and in these data centers you have many servers. And these servers, when we talk about Kubernetes on bare metal, are part of the different clusters in a, let's say, random or semi-random way. And due to dynamic nature of processes, one server is, let's say, on regular basis, changing the role, being in cluster, for example, for 5G today, and maybe tomorrow it is ending up in the cluster of PCF, and the next day is maybe in a cluster of Elasticsearch for some support processes. The issue, the challenge in, I guess, most of the environments we are in, at least we see it in the Deutsche Telekom, it's a historically grown network environment with a heavy segmentation, with a lot of VRFs, which have a conflicting and colliding IP addresses, and it's not easy. Kubernetes is not made natively to integrate that in that environment. So host-based routing is our solution for that. It solves the problem of high complexity of the network and connectivity in the dynamic environment, in dynamic CAS environment. Or statically, many things could be configured, but when you start moving the things in a logical way, then it's when the challenges start. It provides the necessary security as per design, doesn't compromise on security, decouples, very important thing, the network fabric configuration from the network configuration for Kubernetes clusters, including connectivity and integration. So essentially, our networking engineers are, with this setup, having a boring job. They don't need to automate much, and they don't need to provision much when things are on the Kubernetes front moving. And it enables simple and easy realization of declarative management of connectivity, and even self-service for a complicated connectivity for CNFs. We use it, as I said, in production since almost 3 years. It evolved, of course, from the initial concept, and today we have it in 10 data centers, 10 core data centers running in 200 Kubernetes clusters on bare metal, totaling around 2,000 plus nodes. The systems that are running on top of clusters with this networking are 5G core, UDM, AUSF, PCF, telco application server, DNS, and applications like Elasticsearch and others. It's validated with 3 network fabric variants and flavors. It's Cisco, Juniper, and Edge core based on the Sonic. And I want to say that it's quite doing the job for us. What it is about in the more details for all those who haven't been part of the deep dive in Paris. Host-based routing is where every Kubernetes node is at the same time the router that peers with the network fabric. So we essentially, if you see on this picture, in a schematic, simple way, we are extending the network fabric with another layer of practically leaf switches, which are actually the software-based software-based routers on the host of Kubernetes nodes. If we go, and in this way, we abstract the fabric and interactions with the fabric from Kubernetes completely. Zooming in a bit more, what it is at the moment, it is there is a control plane, which is at the moment, in our case, free-range routing stack running as a service on the nodes. The data path is a Linux kernel, And if you look below, if you have one cluster and a representation of one node and some containers with C1, C2, what happens essentially, there is a component which is part of the host-based routing concept, which sources its configuration from the custom resources that are representing the network configuration. The below layer 2 network configuration represents what has to be configured on the Linux netlink layer, VLANs and the parameters around VLANs. And then another resource, VRF route configuration, is where the imports and exports on the layer 3 are managed. So in a sense, network operator take this as the input, configures the Linux netlink level in a dynamic way, templates out the FRR configuration, and then FRR takes over the BGP processes in a native way so that the containers get connectivity. They think they are in the simple layer 2 network, but then from the host, it gets packaged into EVP and VXLAN frames, and it's a fully routed from the host to the throughout the fabric. So that's the in short what's behind it. But as we have experienced, it's not the final product that we have. There are a number of advantages. I said you can have a desired network connectivity and network integration without touching the fabric, without any need for automation in fabric. Fabric is static and rather dumb. Cluster connectivity can be done in GitOps way, in a self-service fashion, and so on. The servers can have a generic network configuration and form a pool out of which different clusters are created. There is a direct routing of the pods, reduced NAT need for some communication, so less overhead. High availability is relying on ECMP, so we have like in our case 4-way high availability on the networking level for most of it, and you can monitor it in a cloud native way, for example via Prometheus and so on. But downsides that we have currently is FRR is a rather big component, and when it runs as a service on the node, we had to do some retrofitting and then working around that in order to make a use case. It's not that nice. It doesn't have a native management interface, so we need to improvise a bit with the templating of the config and reloading on every change, which works fine in practice. There is no downside, but it's not a clean solution yet. There is no enterprise version of host-based routing at the moment that includes SLA, and we do need, like every of the CSPs here, probably for a scale of production, something like that. So we rely at the moment on upstream community, and we have, honestly speaking, limited capabilities to do the test end-to-end in a systematic way with the different kernel versions and so on and so forth. So these are some downsides that we face today, for which we have a plan to move forward and to improve and address all of them. And this way forward is actually something I would like to ask Christopher to jump in and shed some light on that.
Yes. Hi, I'm Christopher. I am leading this host-based networking architecture here in Vuk's team, and I've been building it for the last 2 to 3 years and involving on it. So the short-term goal is basically to, because of the disadvantages that Vuk has presented earlier, is to productize that host-based routing concept together with a commercial vendor. One of the things we see here is we want to swap out FRR by either a commercially supported FRR or some other containerized routing agent. That will, of course, involve migration to it, but we will stick to the Linux kernel data plane for now, which will involve that we, of course, also need to validate kernel versions with vendors and so on. One of the major benefits, of course, of the replacing FRR as it is today with a commercially available routing agent is that we will gain standardized management interfaces for that host-based routing agent. So for example, netconf or Yang that we can use to or utilize for our network operator. Because currently it is very tightly integrated into Linux kernel netlink and actually FRR config templating, which is not a clear line of separation between it. Also, the containerized routing agent will kind of take over everything and then of that host-based routing on the node. We won't interact directly with the, or it's at least the idea, we won't interact directly with the Linux kernel config interfaces anymore. We utilize the standard netconf Yang interface, and the containerized routing agent will do everything else for it. And of course, as it's a commercial product, we will get updates from them. We are looking actually into possible co-creation there with the vendor, and as a benefit, we will there will be, of course, SLAs and so on. Yeah. Kind of one of the things we've noticed during the last 2 to 3 years is that the way we currently build it, this is not the way we currently build it, this is the way we imagine it to be built in the future together with a partner, is that today we heavily integrate the host-based routing stack into our Kubernetes node, which makes it very dependent on a lot of let's say actually a lot of workarounds to make it work, because Kubernetes and VRFs is not a first-class citizen in most cases. That's why we actually want to split up the node into 2 separate components, one of them being the normal Kubernetes side, kind of running in a default network namespace, which is a standard Kubernetes deployment, default routing to something, makes it a lot easier to set up and so on. But also have the host-based routing container running next to it, connected to it. The host-based routing container will take over the network interface, will do everything from VXLAN encapsulation, routing, route leaking, maybe nutting, and so on. And there are certain options, of course, with that. We can, first of all, maybe use the Linux kernel routing stack, but there are also options to use accelerated routing with, for example, VPP, DPDK, and whatever is around there. And as you might be familiar with the design with, for example, smart NICs or DPUs, this separation or the separated design here already could be quite similarly utilized to build something based on a DPU product as well. The potential industry partners we are looking into here are VSR from Sixwind, CRPD from Juniper, and also Netrisk, which has, they have a little bit more complete product than the others, while VSR and CRPD are more on the router side. That's what that's currently evaluated. One thing, however, to notice as of today, because of the nature of SRIOV, without the usage of a TPU, we are currently only looking at pod traffic as well as McVLAN traffic and not SRIOV. I think that's it from my side, and Vuk, you can wrap it up.
Thank you, Christopher. So putting that on the roadmap, combined with our vision to share this more with the community, how does it look like? A host-based routing evolution in Deutsche Telekom is moving on. We are going to publish an RFQ very soon for a partner for this containerized routing agent. And then we are going to iterate from there with the partner to first productize this network stack, and then to introduce new functionalities like route reflectors for additional security on the master nodes, BGP as a service, and policy-based and then source-based routing. However, in parallel, we believe, at least from the experience, what we have is that this solves the problem for many of the telco operators when we talk about Kubernetes on bare metal at scale in a networking environment. So we thought that we come here and propose to some of the interested parties to do the POC for the host-based routings with containerized routing agent, and maybe involve interested partner. Some of those guys might also join that kind of POC on the previous page, and simply collect the feedback, because it's at the moment something we live with on a daily basis, but it might be a pretty new or pretty, let's say, different to some other CSP. So the proposal we are coming for here is to talk about, trying it out in a smaller scale, get some experience with that, and then see if that's something for the community. If that's something for the community, then the next step on this bottom blue part, which is a community engagement, would be building together and reference the implementation, which is not on the commercial, based on the commercial product, but more on open source product without SLA, but still as a reference implementation. And we would be quite open to potentially donate the components related to it to the foundation of project. In this case, might be Sylva project, or might be the Linux Foundation Europe as an umbrella. It's something that is not so much important now. And if that works, then the community together can work on, let's say, generalizing this concept for multi-agent, multi-vendor support, exploring with the custom data paths, maybe to find a replacement for a SRIOV, seamless replacement, or even maybe doing the DPU, IPU-based POCs and so on. So as a vision, if all of that would make sense and would work, this could be a default networking stack, open source based networking stack for Sylva, or even more beyond that. Now we are short on time, and I'm going to stop, but essentially the proposal is to see if there is interest for somebody to engage and do the POC with our support in another environment, then carry out the POC, get feedback, evaluate this hands-on, and then if that's all fine, consider adoption and then way forward. So that's a pitch for today, and I would open the floor for questions or for some feedback. I know Guillaume had some already because we have exchanged before, but let's pause here.
Thank you, Luca.
So
Any
some
comment,
questions.
question?
Sorry, one question from me. This is Vladan also from Orange. So maybe it's obvious, but this is linked, right, to EVPN VXLAN fabric. It doesn't work on legacy fabric, right, without EVPN VXLAN. We had some internal debate. That's why I want confirmation. So yes, okay. And does it?
Well, mostly, let's maybe, if you have something like, if you have like a border router which would be able to do VXLAN, if something else is in between, of course, it would be more or less a hacky solution, but you could make it work in some way.
But as you use it right now, it's EVPN VXLAN based with, right, all the leaves. Okay, thank you.
It is essentially for the infrastructure, for the modern infrastructure. Like
which scale, which really scale where you actually need EVPN VXLAN fabric.
The use case we addressed here is more the core sites. It could work on the edge as well. It doesn't have downsides. This has upsides of unifying some management, but it's primarily in the core sites, and we have like a 500 servers per site, and like a 30-40 clusters, and 100 VRFs that are randomly connected to the cluster. So in a classic way, it would be not manageable.
Okay, and you combine this host-based routing with some other automation that carries out the initial configuration for the infrastructure VLANs, for example, right? Because you cannot do this when you are deploying a new server. You need to configure all the needed VLANs for the infrastructure networks. Or no, you can cover this as well in the same manner.
Yep.
Okay.
Christopher, maybe you can give your 2 cents.
So what we usually do is we only provide layer 2 services to nodes which need SIOV, because we're not encapsulating that into VXLAN directly on the node.
Yeah.
Everything else is actually layer 3 based and is pre-provisioned to be able to do so.
Okay, yeah. For this, for sure, we can see more details during the POC. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The VLANs essentially present only on the nodes of the Kubernetes cluster as a VLANs.
Okay.
But thanks for the questions.
Thank you as well.
This is actually what we are seeking, among other
And
things
yeah,
here,
also,
a different perspective.
We
we
are
didn't
already on
see
the step
any
2 of your
VRF.
slides,
Yeah, sorry.
Vuk. We are carry out POC and evaluation and feedback. So we are already on this step 2. So at the TSC level, concerning Orange, we are interested in this, to follow this POC and to participate to this. We need to define which platform possibly, because we have many possibilities. So it's more an open question on this. So I want to have the feedback from the other members of the board. And Vuk, after this round of feedback, we are interested also to see if you want to lead maybe a temporary work group to manage these 3 steps. But after all, if we have a perennity on this topic, it can be a permanent work group. So this is Orange feedback.
Thanks, Guillaume. Maybe because we exchanged, there was a question whether it should be an ad hoc activity, evaluation activity within the work group 1, or should be kind of already dedicated stream. And on that, I would propose maybe to do it a simpler, lower profile if that fits within the working group 1 plus maybe 2, because it's kind of validation related to some extent. And then if it is going to be of interest, then of course we are ready to, let's say, contribute also more time and also maybe to lead that stream in a more formal way. But for evaluation, I would prefer and propose to go with some technical breakout, let's say, session or activity in parallel with the standard Sylva process.
Clear.
From team point of view, it is for sure very interesting, your proposal. I think we need some internal discussion to see if we can manage to participate to the epoch, to the proposal. But for sure, we would like to participate to the discussion and then verify if we can actually do something from a practical point of view.
Thank you, Carlo.
Any other comment for Vuk? If not,
maybe
we are
just maybe one short kind
Yes,
request. Then, as Guillaume mentioned, there will be interest in Orange side. Maybe then you discuss it in additional internally. It would be great to then have somebody nominated who would track that, and then we can organize the rest of the things.
Okay.
We'll give you the point of contact. Okay.
Mhm.
So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. I think as we are just a few minutes late, but not too much. If there are no other comments or topic to be discussed, I think we can close the meeting. Can you send us a copy of the slides so we can in some way share with the community together with the minutes of the TSC?
Okay, thanks.
So thank you to all. We can close this TSC and we will gather together in 2 weeks again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You survived, Carlo, from the storms. Bye.
Bye.